Old Dominion Knifeworks. Hand fucking made, baby. So this is going to be the Lican / Slenderman hybrid. This is supposed to be a nitro V steel. For some reason this is AEBL. Hopefully that's wrong. I already messaged Casey about it, so we'll find out shortly. Whew, goddamn. Well, folks, I have to back up the camera a little bit for this one because this is a big ass knife. How you doing today, folks? This is going to be the first impression / unboxing of the Old Dominion Knifeworks Lican / Slenderman hybrid. This is a full titanium frame lock with gorgeous bits of milling. Overall, very nice aesthetic piece to say the very least, as well as a nice solid titanium milled out clip, back spacer, back strap, nice little skull crusher, and is overall aesthetically a very beautiful, beautiful knife. Very well done, Casey. Now, this knife has a 5-inch blade, pretty decently thick blade stock, but nothing remarkable. But watch how this thing flicks out, folks. Like, are you serious? A knife this big, a knife this heavy, but this well made, and with action like that, that is incredible. Now, with all that being said, out of the box, this does have pretty heavy lock stick. I do need 2 hands to disengage it. That being said, it's a custom made knife. It's brand new out of the box, so that very well might change. And if it does, I'll go ahead and keep you guys updated. Now, as far as the overall ergonomics, I have to admit, this knife is so incredibly comfortable in my hand. The jimping is absolutely perfect because it's such a big knife. He jimped the actual spine, or the actual scales with the spine, not the blade itself, which is a really smart idea. It locks your hand in perfectly. There's no real hot spots to speak of. There is a slight irritation on this cutout. This piece right here is kind of sharp, but again, it's pretty minor overall, and ergonomically, so far, so absolutely fantastic. Now, out of the box, as you can see, this is definitely favoring the lock scale quite a bit. But give me 1 second, folks. I'm gonna try to adjust this knife a little bit and see if I can't fix that myself. All right, folks, after about 30 seconds of adjusting, which is obviously not a whole lot to ask for, our blade is dead center and our action is still fucking phenomenal. I'm really gonna say this right now. The patent pending Old Dominion Knifeworks action really is incredible. Again, to get a knife this big, to go that smoothly and that quickly out is really just kind of boggles my mind. Also, if you notice how tore up my thumb is, been playing with this knife a whole bunch, and the lock stick is gone. So, fantastic. Now, if you are a fan of the CEO by CRKT, this is the big boy CEO. That's really what it reminds me of. Is it based off of that model? I have no idea, but it's slim and slender in the overall kind of looks. To be clear, it's a pretty fat knife. It isn't small by any means, but it has that overall nice aesthetic piece to it. And again, this thumb stud, you have to put a little bit of pressure on, and when it goes, it rockets out. But you just put a little bit of pressure on that, kind of how the CEO acts. But man, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous knife, and so far, I'm in love. Now, at this point in the video, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward probably 3 or 4 days to give you a real solid idea of how I feel about this knife overall. But so far, on day 1, I love it. All right, so the first update is this knife cut me today. It's nothing bad by any means. You can see how the blade is just barely above that piece. It's because of how this whole thing is sort of jimped. But it was a very minor cut, more like a poke than anything else, but definitely something to be noted. To be clear, I don't care. I still love this knife. All right, so another update for you. This man orange peeled the back spacer, the clip, and everything else to perfectly match the blade. Kind of a random thing, but I was just carrying this knife, flicking it open, and I happened to look at it, and even the hardware is stone washed to where it matches the actual blade. I'm a huge thing of symmetry. So noticing that, to me, I was like, wow, that is some crazy attention to detail, and I just want to share it with you guys because it really, really impressed me. Also, just to be clear for everybody, this is a big ass knife. That is a Halo 6. It is bigger than a Halo 6, which, to be fair, is a huge knife. Whew! Casey Middleton, Old Dominion Knifeworks, makes some big, badass, beastly monsters, and I love it. To really illustrate that fact, here are some EDC staples which look absolutely minuscule compared to this monster. This camera is also completely flat at the actual table. So a trick people use if they want knives to look bigger or smaller is they have the camera angled a little bit, and whatever's on the bottom looks huge and whatever's on top looks small. So this is flat down. This is an accurate representation of what it'll actually be. And as you can see, it is an absolute monster that, spoiler alert, I still love. Now, after 3 days of use, carry, and honestly pretty hard use, I have quite a few things to say about this knife. First off, let's start with, I wouldn't call them bad things, but they're definitely more on the negative side. So first off, this thumb stud, which has a very interesting design to it, grabs your finger in such a way that it really kind of destroys your skin. Not a huge deal for me personally, definitely something you should take notice though. If you have very soft hands, this one might not be for you. There are small fit and finish flaws with this knife, like the scratches on the pivot, for example, which are not caused by me taking it apart. I was very careful with my stuff. There's also little little open pieces to the actual, not anode, but more kind of like the heavy stonewash or bead blast, whatever this knife is. We also have this piece right here, which again has cut me. Again, more of a poke, not a bad cut by any means, and personally, overall, I kind of don't care. Finally, we have this cutout. Now this cutout is designed to where the thumb stud rests very nicely, and it kind of gives an overall Quaken / CEO style to the actual knife itself. But when open, this cutout is not chamfered at all. It's not ground down at all. It's very, very sharp. It's not going to cut you. At least it did not cut me during use. But it's definitely becomes a hot spot over time and is just not the most ideal piece. Also, I mentioned the back cutting. That's all you're going to have. It's again more of a poke than an actual cut, but that's from touching right here. So overall, not a huge problem. Also, the force required to get this blade out is pretty ridiculous. Again, it does have fantastic action. It rockets out with no issue. It also drops down pretty nicely when there's no lock stick going. Right there, it was pretty clear. I also just cut myself on camera, so that's always fun. Again, there's definitely an issue with that. It's will really kind of destroy your thumb again. Both the lock disengagement as well as actually deploying this thing takes a whole lot of force. But again, for me personally, I really don't mind. Now, as far as the positives, again, everything I said earlier holds true. This knife is absolutely beautiful, gorgeous fit and finish. This pocket clip is an absolute dream. Like, this thing carries so well. It's a pretty long pocket clip. I wasn't sure if I would like that or not, but it's designed this way for a reason, and it really shows. The retention is absolutely perfect. It carries perfectly. It's actually very light overall as far as it being a bigger knife, and I was really impressed with it. Also, this 5-inch blade of Nitro V steel is ground really, really nicely. Has fantastic fit and finish again. I love the overall style of this piece as a whole. Cannot stress how well this thing cuts. Like, no resistance, no tearing, no force needs to be applied. Just glides straight through. It's a fantastic knife. I am so incredibly impressed by it. It's kind of ridiculous. As far as the overall score, as always, I'm gonna go ahead and give this 2 scores. If you're a standard EDC person, you buy things like, you know, Spyderco, Manix 2s and things like that, this knife's going to be a 7. It's a bit too large, it's a bit too heavy. It does carry very well in the pocket, but it's also an absolute monster. And there are little fit and finish flaws here and there, as well as the thumb stud will probably be a nightmare for you to open. On the other hand, if you are in the collector, investor category, you're just really like a big, giant custom knife, I give this knife a 10. My personal score for this knife as me as a person is a 10. Again, there are things here and there that have flaws, but I don't care. I love this knife. I absolutely adore this knife. They are, you know, again, little issues here and there, but they don't stop it from me for being something that's absolutely perfect. I will never sell this knife. This thing to me is an absolute grail that I did not know that I wanted. Like, the fit, the finish, the looks, the aesthetics, the performance, everything about this knife has genuinely blown me away. Now, when I first saw this available on his website, or his group to be clear, I thought I would like it. You know, I thought it was pretty cool, and that might be an interesting piece, and it wasn't too expensive. This is only $800. I've had some that are way more than that, so it's not too crazy of a price for a custom knife. But once I got it in hand, I really started to understand how everything is designed. And honestly, there's little, again, things here and there that could be improved, but like, I don't care. This is the grail that I did not know that I wanted. And Casey Middleton, brother, you've earned the golf clap. Like, I cannot stress enough how much I love this knife and how impressed I am by it. Casey Middleton is a pretty small maker. He's relatively new, not new, but he hasn't been around that long. And this is made by hand, folks. If anybody's ever made a knife by hand or has even tried, you understand the hundreds of hours that go into something like this, and to the hobby, and to making everything like that, and to again still pay such close attention to details and try to figure everything out is really kind of astonishing. Casey, brother, you have my supreme respect, and you definitely have my business in the future. Now, with all that being said, folks, I love you all from the bottom of my heart. I love you. I appreciate you. You all mean something very special to me. And I know this is a longer video than I normally post, but I really kind of want to get as much information as possible. Again, the more I carry this knife, the more I love it. And I really hope all of you guys go out there and check out Casey Middleton at Old Dominion Knifeworks, and you grab a custom by him, because they are incredible.